I watched Trump's cabinet meeting today, so you don't have to, and here's my overview. Starting with the craziest, he said that the Senate passed a bill for sanctions on Russia, but they passed it in a certain way so that he has a choice whether or not he has to sign it, proving he does not understand the veto power of the presidency and is probably the reason why he signs every piece of paper placed in front of him without reading it. Okay, he mentioned Biden 9 times, Obama 4 times, and the fake news 8 times, and then the other members of his cabinet who were there mentioned Biden 6 more times. He said the big beautiful bill would have had to have been broken into 7 different bills to get passed, and some of those wouldn't have gotten passed because they had nothing that benefited any Americans in them. So he admitted large sections of his bill have nothing that's beneficial to any American, except the ultra wealthy. Regarding the flooding in Texas, he called it a wave and said we've never had a wave like this except if dams have broken before, and he says that at one point there were so many helicopters in the sky that it became dangerous. He claims the tariff date always has been August 1st and that the media is just lying saying that he changed that. He claims that we're getting money in. We've already received $100 billion from tariffs, and then he says the tariffs are going to be starting on August 1st, and then he says that we pay other people's tariffs because it was being run by stupid people in the past. His words. Stupid people. He's now saying 25 million undocumented immigrants entered this country. I will remind you that if that was the case, 17,000 plus per day would have had to have come in every single day of Joe Biden's presidency. And then after that, he says that the wall is mostly built. He says the best way, not kidding, the best way to explain the targets that they were aiming for in Iran was to use a half a refrigerator door. He said take any refrigerator door, cut it in half, and that's what they were aiming at. And then he said that the pilots who were on a mission were informed while they were flying back that the news was already saying that they missed their targets. I don't know why he thinks they were informed while they were still flying, but apparently that's what he thinks. He's now saying it's 7,000 soldiers a week being killed in Ukraine instead of 5,000, and he also says that we have 52,000 soldiers in Germany. Quick Google search shows you it's only 35,000. Like, just why lie about it? Just say 35. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this, but Jeffrey Epstein gets brought up by a reporter and he goes, Jeffrey Epstein, are we still talking about that guy? He's a total creep. And then Pam Bondi says that the minute that's missing from the prison security footage is due to a reset that they do every single day at the exact same time. So what we should see is she's going to provide us with evidence that that same minute is missing from every night's video, supposedly. He says every country is now willing to do whatever he wants because of the tariffs. Then he says that it's too time consuming to make a deal with every country. So what he's going to do is he's just going to decide on a number that our trade deal is going to be and just send it in a letter, which is what he started doing yesterday when he was sending those letters, which he called well-crafted. His templated letters he called well-crafted. He says that BRICS, the organization, largely broke up over the past year. I will remind you, BRICS had an expansion in 2024 and an expansion in 2025. You know, do I even need to mention him saying that gas is lower than $2 in multiple locations? Because he did. He says that Biden spent money like a drunken sailor, but then says I would never say that. And then he starts talking about clean, beautiful coal again out of nowhere. He said that smart countries don't use wind turbines. He actually used the term windmill, which he's never going to get the difference between the two. But for clarity for you, I'm going to say wind turbine. And then he says that there's broken down, dilapidated wind turbines everywhere and that we're not allowed to take them down and they're a complete eyesore. I pass by them sometimes and they're not an eyesore. They're quite cool, actually, to look at. He says there will not be amnesty for migrant farm workers, but then says that they won't be targeting them, but then says that they want Americans working farms. I ain't picking strawberries, I will tell you that. He says if pharmaceutical companies don't manufacture in this country, that he's going to put a 200% tariff on all medication coming in, essentially raising your drug prices 300%. You get tariffs, right? That is 300% increase in your pharmaceutical prices. He said to land in New York that pilots have to use air traffic control and radars from another country. He didn't mention which country, but supposedly to land in New York, you're using radar from another country. I swear to God, he said that. He says we don't need a high-speed rail between LA and San Francisco because planes do it better already, and because the roads aren't even crowded, so people can just drive. The roads of San Francisco and LA are not crowded. His words. He calls Mamdani a communist again and then heavily implies that if he is elected, the White House is going to control New York City from DC. Oh yeah, and he forgot the term ranked choice voting and just says that new voting thing they did. He says that Eisenhower is the reason that there's wheelchair ramps everywhere and then praises him for that. I know no MAGA has made it this far, but if any of you somehow have, That is DEI. That is equity and inclusion for disabled individuals. Seriously, that's all it is. He spends the last 15 to 20 minutes just talking about the new decor that he's put up in the room. Pictures of presidents, apparently some silverware he's put out, flags, and lamps. When he says lamps, he's talking about the chandeliers on the ceiling. Talks about how they had to put some new medallion on them or something. Spends 20 minutes talking about the decor in the room. And then finally, right at the end, he asks his entire cabinet to please raise their hand if they think that he should put gold leaf across the molding on the ceiling. Anyways, thanks for being here. Follow me if you're not. Like, share, comment. Those things really help, and I do really appreciate it.